Hello, my name is Vivien Williams, a Minnesotan like you, and I want to share some important facts with you today about transportation, and I want you to start thinking about positioning Minnesota for a vibrant future in a very competitive world.
It's very surprising when you can arrive in a country like China to the most modern airports, to get on freeways that use tolling mechanisms. The roads are in great shape.
Infrastructure is a living system. It needs maintenance, it needs energy to keep it going. If we don't provide any inputs into the system, it'll slowly deteriorate, it'll slowly degrade.
The idea is that the vehicle should be moving to transport something. So if it's just sitting in traffic, it's not being productive.
So not only is our product being delivered to customers on this highway, we also have about 2,000 employees who work in Owatonna.
No new tax mentality. The analogy could be no new roof.
And I think all of this comes down to expecting more of our political leaders than simply short-term sloganeering.
Today, just as in the past, our prosperity and quality of life are shaped by our transportation system. In 1955, President Eisenhower, a Republican president, had the incredible vision and foresight to create America's interstate highway system. It was a massive investment that pulled the economy out of a slump and transformed American commerce in ways that are still paying dividends almost 60 years later. The greatest generation paid for that new system with a 4-cent per gallon user fee at a time when gas was selling for 23 cents a gallon.
It wasn't a something-for-nothing proposition. We knew that we had to pay the price for long-term gains.
A quarter century later, another Republican president, Ronald Reagan, worked with a Democratic Congress to fashion the Surface Transportation Act of 1982.
The state of our transportation system affects our commerce, our economy, and our future.
The bill that President Reagan signed raised the federal fuel tax by 5 cents a gallon and addressed many of the pressing needs of our nation for many years to come. But 3 decades have passed since then, and with dramatic cost increases in materials and construction costs, we keep falling behind. And that's why we've added only 3% in new road capacity since 1980. Unfortunately, we now have more than twice as many cars on our highways as we did back then. Here in Minnesota, we face a funding shortfall of at least $30 billion over the next 20 years. Each year we fail to act, it costs us about 10% more to complete a given project.
I think transportation is the responsibility of government. That's not going to happen in the private sector.
And as a society, we should be willing to pay that to get better roads. Our parents did, and they made the infrastructure. We're just wearing it out.
Minnesota's population will increase by almost 1 million people over the next 3 decades, and those new residents will generate tens of thousands of new trips every day.
In 2010, Twin Cities commuters spent 45 hours, more than a full work week, stuck in traffic congestion.
It's time to consider the future. We have a number of exciting road projects on the drawing board that'll help create a vibrant future for Minnesota. We need to finish building in some corridors.
People in the Twin Cities area are very familiar with the bottlenecks.
We need to finish work on Highway 610, Highway 14, Highway 23, and Highway 212.
And of course, all across Minnesota. People are very familiar with highways that need to be repaired.
Some of the most futuristic projects are transit improvements that will enable us to better compete with cities like Phoenix, Houston, Denver, and Portland. In the western suburbs, there is great excitement about the Southwest Corridor. On the near north side of Minneapolis, there's the Bottineau Transit Way. Near the new Twins ballpark, designers are looking at ways to join several lines in what's called the INTERCHANGE. In the East Metro area, businesses and residents are anxious to see movement on the Gateway Corridor. Equally exciting is the work that's going on at the Union Depot in St. Paul as the Central Corridor is being built out.
And to create a world-class transportation system is only going to help some of that entrepreneurial and American spirit.
The leadership for all this has to come from state government, and any new revenue must be dedicated to its stated purpose. A transportation system can be an impediment, a safety hazard, and a daily frustration, or it can bring the jobs, economic security, and mobility we need to live our lives independently. Seek out your elected officials and tell them that you want fewer sound bites and more action. Less blame game and more cooperation.